Right. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the life and career of Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah.
Um, and, this one, it hits hard.
It's
She was only 39 years old.
very young, way too young
Yeah.
to lose someone with so much talent and potential.
Yeah. And, it's especially tough for those of us who, kind of grew up watching her
Oh, absolutely.
on screen.
I mean, she was a fixture in so many of our favorite shows and movies.
Yeah, like right from the start.
Yeah. She was one of those actors you just knew.
Well, let's talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
how should we start this? I mean,
Well, I think we should start by acknowledging the sadness of the situation.
okay.
Her passing, it's a real loss for the entertainment world.
For sure. For sure.
But I also think it's important to celebrate her life and her career.
I agree 100%.
Focus on the positive and the joy that she brought to so many people.
Yeah, and there's a lot to celebrate.
Oh, tons.
For sure. There is. I mean, this People article that we have is a good starting point.
It is, yeah. It gives a good overview.
Right. It talks about, her recent passing and all of that.
Right.
But it also highlights the fact that, she had a liver transplant not too long ago.
Yeah, and that's, that adds another layer of complexity to the story.
It really does.
It reminds us that, even celebrities, even those in the spotlight, they face real challenges.
Yeah.
Personal struggles, things that we might not even know about.
Right, right.
And sometimes those challenges are incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And that makes you think,
It does.
Because we tend to, we see these people on screen.
Right.
And they seem larger than life.
Yeah.
And we forget that they're human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're just like us. They have their own struggles and their own battles. And sometimes those battles are, are really, really tough.
Okay, so before we get into some of like her iconic roles and all of that,
Yeah.
let's touch on those early days.
Yeah.
Like the article mentions the adventures of Pete and Pete
Oh, classic.
and Harriet the Spy, which, if you were a kid in the 90s,
Oh, yeah.
huge.
Huge. You
Yeah.
couldn't escape them.
You couldn't.
Everyone was watching those shows.
So, I mean,
And for good reason.
she was already like a seasoned actress
Yeah, she was a pro by the time she was a teenager.
by the time she was a teenager.
I mean, think about that.
It's wild.
Like, she had more experience than some actors have in their entire career.
I know.
And you could see it even at that young age.
Oh, yeah.
She brought a depth and a nuance to her performances that really set her apart.
Yeah, she had this presence,
Yes.
Like she owned the screen.
Yeah, it's like she was born to be an actress.
Yeah, total natural.
Totally.
And then came Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Oh, yeah.
which,
That's what really cemented her status, I think.
as like,
Yeah, as a teen icon.
yeah,
I mean, Buffy was such a cultural phenomenon.
it really was.
And her character, Dawn Summers? Ugh.
She added this whole other dimension to the show.
She did. She really did.
She was Buffy's younger sister,
Yeah.
and she was brought into their world, in this really supernatural way.
Right.
And so not only did she have to deal with all the crazy vampire stuff and demon stuff,
Right. All this.
she was also going through, typical teenage struggles,
Exactly.
trying to fit in, figuring out who she was.
Yeah, like it's hard enough being a teenager.
No, tell me about it.
Right.
And then you throw vampires and demons into the mix.
And you're not even human.
And oh, yeah.
Right.
You're a mystical key.
Like what?
Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah. No kidding.
And I remember watching Buffy and thinking like, wow, Dawn's problems are just as real and intense as Buffy's. Even if they don't involve fighting vampires?
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that's why her character resonated with so many viewers, especially young girls.
Yes.
Because she was relatable.
Yeah. She was going through things that everyone could understand.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't, facing down demons on a regular basis.
Right. Like we've all felt those feelings of being an outsider or.
Yeah. Of not fitting in.
Yeah.
Of trying to find your place in the world.
Yeah.
And Michelle played it beautifully.
She did.
She wasn't afraid to show Dawn's flaws and insecurities.
Right.
Which made her even more endearing.
Exactly. She was like a real person.
Yeah. You really felt for her.
Yeah.
And you rooted for her.
And then, of course, we have to talk about Gossip Girl.
Oh, yeah.
And her portrayal of Georgina Sparks, which was
completely different.
Completely.
End of the spectrum.
Yes. Georgina was
pure chaos.
Pure chaos.
Like a master manipulator.
Yes.
Always stirring up trouble.
Always.
Yeah.
And she played her with such a wicked glee.
Oh, she was having so much fun with that role.
It's like she was just relishing
Every moment.
every moment of it.
Yeah, she just chewed up the scenery.
Yeah, and it's another testament to her talent.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she could play
anything.
Yeah, like the vulnerable teenager, the mischievous troublemaker, and everything in between.
Yeah, she wasn't afraid to push boundaries and take on challenging roles.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so impressive about her career.
I agree.
It's like she never got stuck in one type of role.
Yeah.
Like she was constantly evolving.
Yeah, she's always pushing herself creatively.
And that's something that, we'll always remember her for.
Absolutely.
Before we move on
to,
some more specifics about her career, I wanted to circle back to the People article for a moment.
Okay.
It mentions some Instagram posts that she made about a year ago addressing, comments about her appearance.
Yeah, those posts were really powerful.
They were very powerful.
I mean, she was basically shutting down speculation about her health.
Right.
And, telling people to mind their own business.
Right. And it's like,
yeah,
especially in light of
her passing. It makes you think about.
Yeah, it really does.
The pressures that celebrities face.
Yes, especially women.
Oh, especially women.
It's like their bodies are public property.
It's really sad.
It is. It's absurd.
It's like people forget that they're human beings with feelings and, and privacy.
And I think her response to all that scrutiny was really admirable.
Oh, she was so strong.
Yeah.
She refused to be defined by other people's opinions.
She took control of her narrative and was just like, this is my body.
Exactly.
I'm not going to apologize for it.
Yeah, she was a force.
And I think that's a good place to pause for now.
Okay.
When we come back, let's delve deeper into some of the roles that really showcase her talent and range.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
All right.
All right. So we were just talking about, Michelle's strength and her determination and, those qualities really shine through in her work.
You do.
I want to go back to Buffy for a bit.
Okay.
Because it feels like such a pivotal point in her career.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buffy was such a groundbreaking show.
It was.
In so many ways. And Michelle's character, Dawn,
Yeah.
she really added a unique layer to the storytelling.
She did.
She wasn't just a sidekick or a love interest.
Right.
She had her own arc, her own struggles, and she really grew as a character over the course of the series.
That's so true, and she went through so much.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine finding out that you're not actually human.
Right.
But a mystical key.
Yeah.
Created to protect the world.
Talk about an identity crisis.
Right.
Like, whoa.
Like, what?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, no kidding.
And Michelle really captured that sense of confusion.
She did.
And displacement.
Yeah. She made Dawn's struggles feel real and relatable, even though the circumstances were, fantastical.
Right. And one thing that always struck me about Dawn was her resilience.
Oh, yeah.
Despite all the trauma she endured.
Yeah.
She never gave up. She always fought for what she believed in.
She did.
Even when it was hard.
Yeah, and that's something I think a lot of young people, especially girls, could relate to. Dawn was a fighter.
Yes.
And she showed that it's okay to be vulnerable, but you also have to be strong and stand up for yourself.
Yeah, and let's not forget how funny she could be.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
She had this sarcastic wit.
Yes.
That really shone through, even in like the darkest moments.
Totally. It was that mix of humor and heart that made her such a compelling character. She could make you laugh one minute and then break your heart the next.
And then, of course, there's Georgina Sparks in Gossip Girl.
Oh, yes.
Who was basically the embodiment of chaos and mischief.
Oh, she was a force of nature.
Yes.
Always scheming and manipulating.
Always.
But she did it with such style and panache. Like, you couldn't help but be entertained by her.
Yeah, it's like she knew she was the villain of the story, and she just owned it.
Totally. And Michelle clearly had a blast playing her.
Oh, yeah, she did.
She brought this delicious wickedness to the role.
Yeah.
And you could tell she was just relishing every moment.
It's interesting to think about how those two roles, Dawn and Georgina, are so different.
Right.
And yet she excels at both.
Exactly.
It shows her incredible range as an actress.
It really does. She could play the innocent, vulnerable teenager
just
as convincingly as the cunning, manipulative schemer.
Yeah.
She was a true chameleon.
Yeah.
Able to just disappear into any role she took on.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what made her so captivating to watch.
Totally.
You never knew what she was going to do next.
Right.
What kind of character she was going to bring to life.
Yeah, and that's the mark of a truly gifted actor.
Yeah, it's a shame that we won't get to see what other amazing roles she could have played.
I know, it's a real loss.
But the work she left behind is a testament.
It is.
To her talent and her passion.
Absolutely.
And that's something to celebrate.
For sure.
Okay, so we've talked about her early career.
Yeah.
And some of her most iconic roles.
Hmm.
But I think it's important to also acknowledge the person behind the character.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, what kind of impact did she have on those who knew her personally?
Well, the People article includes some tributes from her co-stars and friends.
Okay.
And they all paint this picture of a warm, funny, incredibly kind person.
Yeah.
Someone who brought joy and laughter to everyone around her.
That's so nice to hear.
It is. It's really heartwarming.
Yeah, it seems like she was the kind of person who lit up a room.
Definitely.
With her presence.
She had that kind of energy,
Yeah.
that people just gravitated towards.
And that's a beautiful legacy to leave behind.
It is.
Not just the work she did on screen, but the impact she had on the people she loved.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that ultimately it's the human connections that matter most. And Michelle clearly touched the lives of many.
Yeah.
In a profound way.
And it's also a reminder that even those who seem larger than life are still human beings.
Yes.
With their own vulnerabilities and struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to treat each other with kindness and empathy.
It is.
Both on and off screen.
Couldn't agree more.
Well said. Michelle's life may have been cut short, but her legacy will live on.
It will.
Through her work and the memories she created.
Absolutely. And I think the best way to honor her is to continue celebrating her talent, her spirit, and the joy that she brought to the world.
We've talked a lot about Michelle's work and, her incredible talent that she brought to every role. And we've also talked about the challenges she faced as a woman in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, and the grace and the strength that she showed navigating those challenges.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to this question of legacy. Like, what does she leave behind? What will people remember her for?
It's an interesting question, right?
Yeah.
Because the legacy is made up of so many things.
Yeah.
It's the work we create. Yeah. It's the impact we have on others. It's the memories we leave behind.
Right. And for someone like Michelle, who touched so many lives through her performances, I imagine her legacy is incredibly multifaceted.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, on one level, there's the tangible legacy.
Okay.
The films and TV shows she was a part of.
Right.
Those performances will continue to be enjoyed by audiences for years to come.
Yeah.
And they'll introduce her to new generations, keep her memory alive.
And within those performances, there's also the legacy of the characters.
Oh, yeah.
That she brought to life.
For sure.
Dawn Summers, Georgina Sparks. These weren't just roles, they were characters that resonated with people, who made them laugh, cry, everything in between.
And that's a testament to Michelle's talent.
Yes.
That she was able to create characters who felt so real, so relatable, even when the circumstances were, fantastical.
But beyond the work itself, I think there's also the legacy of her spirit.
Yes.
Her personality.
Yeah, her essence.
Yeah, and the People article really highlighted how kind and generous she was, how she lit up a room with her presence.
And those personal qualities leave a mark on people, too.
They do.
They shape the memories of those who knew her.
Yeah.
And they contribute to the overall feeling that people have when they think about her.
Like her kindness becomes part of her legacy.
Absolutely.
Just as much as her acting does.
Exactly. And that's a beautiful thing to consider, that even in the face of a loss as profound as this, there's still so much good that remains.
So as we say goodbye to Michelle Trachtenberg, I think it's important to remember all facets of her legacy.
I agree.
The incredible talent she brought to her work, the impact she had on those who knew her, and the joy she brought to audiences worldwide.
Absolutely.
And maybe we can all take a little something from her story.
I think so.
A reminder to be kind, to be brave, and to live our lives with passion and authenticity.
Beautifully said.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the life and legacy of Michelle Trachtenberg.
It's been an honor to explore her life and work with you today.
And until next time, keep seeking knowledge, Keep asking questions and keep the conversations going.
And remember to celebrate the lives of those who touch our hearts, both on and off screen.